Do you know what happened after Jesus rose from the dead? In the annals of religious history, there are few events as significant as the resurrection of Jesus Christ. This was not merely a case of bringing someone back from the brink of death. No, this was a clear and profound victory over death itself. The empty tomb, once holding the crucified body of Jesus, became a symbol of this triumph and a beacon of hope for believers everywhere. The resurrection marked a distinct departure from the concept of mere resuscitation. It was a transcendent event that eclipsed the natural order of life and death. Jesus, once crucified, was now resurrected, a triumph that underscored his divine nature and further distinguished his resurrection from any form of earthly revival. But the significance of the resurrection goes beyond the empty tomb and the victory over death. It heralds the dawn of a new humanity, a new chapter in the human story. With the resurrection, Jesus set the stage for a transformed world, a new order of existence underpinned by his teachings and his love. This new humanity was not just a philosophical concept, but a tangible reality brought into existence through the resurrection. It was a manifestation of divine love, a testament to the power of faith, and a beacon of hope for a world in need of salvation. The resurrection was more than an isolated event. It was a cosmic shift, a divine intervention that changed the course of human history forever. It marked the beginning of a new era, a new way of understanding our place in the universe, and a new way of relating to the divine. With the resurrection, a new chapter in human history was set into motion. The path ahead, though fraught with challenges and uncertainties, was illuminated by the light of resurrection, offering a beacon of hope and a promise of a new dawn for humanity. After his resurrection, Jesus did not immediately ascend to heaven. Instead, he chose to walk the earth once more, appearing before various individuals and groups, fostering connections and offering teachings of profound significance. Imagine the surprise of Mary Magdalene and the other Mary when they went to the tomb and found it empty. Their sorrow was turned to joy as they encountered the risen Jesus, who instructed them to go and tell his disciples of his resurrection. This was not a ghostly apparition, but a very real and tangible presence, proof of his victory over death. Jesus also appeared to his disciples in a room where they had gathered in fear. He greeted them with peace, dispelling their doubts and fears. He showed them his hands and his side, the marks of his crucifixion, further affirming his resurrection. During this encounter, he breathed upon them the Holy Spirit, empowering them to forgive sins and continue his work on earth. In another instance, Jesus walked and talked with two disciples on the road to Emmaus. They did not recognize him at first, but when he broke bread with them, their eyes were opened. Jesus used this opportunity to teach them about the scriptures, explaining how they pointed towards his suffering, death, and resurrection. One of the most significant appearances was to the Apostle Thomas, who had doubted the resurrection. Jesus appeared to him, inviting him to touch his wounds, effectively eradicating any lingering doubts. This encounter underscored the importance of faith, even in the face of seeming impossibilities. Throughout these appearances, Jesus imparted teachings of immense value, emphasizing the significance of spreading the gospel. His followers were to be his witnesses, sharing his life, death, and resurrection with all people. He gave them the Great Commission, charging them to make disciples of all nations, baptizing them and teaching them to observe all that he had commanded. These encounters were not just fleeting visits, they were part of a greater plan. Jesus was preparing his followers for what was to come, laying the groundwork for the advent of the church and the spreading of the gospel message. His post-resurrection appearances and teachings were vital in establishing a new humanity, one marked by hope, faith, and love. And 40 days after his resurrection, Jesus ascended to heaven. This event, known as the Ascension, holds a pivotal place in Christian theology. The Ascension marked the conclusion of Jesus' earthly ministry. After rising from the dead and appearing to various individuals and groups, Jesus' ascension signified his ultimate victory over death. But it was more than just a victory. It was a transition. It marked the end of his physical presence on earth and the beginning of a new chapter in his eternal dominion. The Ascension is more than just a historical event. It carries deep theological significance. It symbolizes the completion of Jesus' mission on earth, a mission of love, sacrifice and redemption. But it also set the stage for his continued spiritual influence. With his ascension, Jesus took his place at the right hand of God, a position of honor and authority. This marked the beginning of his heavenly reign. From this vantage point, Jesus could continue to guide and inspire his followers. This was not an end, but rather a new beginning for his spiritual journey. But the Ascension also had implications for his followers. It showed them, and indeed shows us today, that Jesus' teachings transcended earthly boundaries. His message of love, forgiveness and salvation was not confined to his time on earth. It continues to resonate, offering hope and guidance to believers around the world. So the Ascension is not just about Jesus' departure from earth, it's about his ongoing influence and the continuation of his mission. It's about his eternal reign and his ceaseless work for the advancement of his kingdom. With his ascension, Jesus' earthly journey came to an end, but his spiritual journey was just beginning. After Jesus' ascension, something remarkable happened on the day of Pentecost. The disciples who had gathered in Jerusalem experienced an extraordinary event that would forever change the course of human history. The Holy Spirit descended upon them, empowering them in ways they could have never imagined. This was no ordinary occurrence, but a divine intervention, a fulfillment of Jesus' promise to send a helper to his followers. The Holy Spirit's descent was not a quiet, subtle event. It came like a rushing wind, filling the entire house where the disciples were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated and came to rest on each of them. This was a clear sign that God's power had come upon them, equipping them with the courage and the words to spread the good news of Jesus Christ. This momentous event marked the beginning of the Christian church. The disciples, now filled with the Holy Spirit, stepped out in faith and boldness, preaching the gospel to all who would listen. They were no longer just followers of Jesus, they were his representatives, carrying his mission forward. The Holy Spirit's arrival on Pentecost was not just an event for the disciples alone. It was a gift for all of humanity, a means by which God's presence could be experienced in a personal and transformative way. This marked the birth of the church and the continuation of Jesus' mission on earth.